there aches no pain quite like the pain of overestimating someone's familiarity with your field. So, to avoid this, there's something I must express to you. In reptiles, most are familiar with the major taxonomic categories: snake, lizard, turtle, and crocodilian. That's what you're taught in grade school, of course. But what they leave out is an in-between category: amphisbaenid. Not quite snake, not quite lizard. More worm-like, but still scaly. Though they are called worm lizards sometimes, they are neither worm nor lizard. They are amphisbaenid. With me so far? Good. What tends to confuse is the categorization of the worm snake. Typhlops is a category of snake called the worm snake that possesses many traits of the worm lizard, but is neither lizard nor worm lizard. They're blind snakes, but like worm lizards, they have underdeveloped eyes, tend to dig, and are largely carnivorous. What sets them apart, however, is their narrow tongues, lack of annuli, or ring-like scales, and skull structure. Though what's irritating is the more you look at Typhlops, the more you notice worm snakes that look very similar to amphisbaenids. Schlegel's beaked blind snake looks uncannily like a black and white worm lizard, but that's far from the point. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the reticulate worm snake is in fact a worm snake. Despite that seeming so cut and dry to you and me, this is actually a long-standing debate within the taxonomy community, ever since the reticulated worm lizard was discovered in 1758 by the likes of Carl Linnaeus. Because of its enigmatic nature, favoring deep rocky soils and tunneling through wet substrates, the reticulate worm snake has been long seen as a rare find for those searching. They're small needles in the haystacks of the hot tropical locales in South America. Their tunnels have found them in a diverse folio of locations: Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, the Guianas, and Venezuela. From savanna to grassland to farms to rainforest, wherever a loose substrate is, they use their armored nose to dig forwards and never look back, even in circumstances no animal dreams of favoring, such as the hostile territory of leafcutter ants. Leafcutter ants are known for their strange, terrarium-esque galleries that they dig out. The ants cultivate growths of fungal gardens, brooding chambers, and even public bathrooms. Reticulate worm snakes utilize this propensity by taking shelter in these same galleries. It's an unsure fact how these ants feel about the worm snakes, but observers speculate that reticulate worm snakes have evolved some sort of cloaking ability around these ants. Perhaps they secrete similar pheromones to avoid detection, or they cover themselves in the waste of the ants, or they eat so many ants that they end up smelling like them. The conclusions we could draw from this are infinite, as the topic of ant communication and territorial behaviors are as fascinating as they are intricate, and as intricate as they are alien. So, maybe a topic for a later discussion. But nonetheless, reticulate worm snakes take great advantage of the safe territory of leafcutter ant galleries, and even utilize them as a source of food as well. With such exceptional survival instincts, it's no wonder their population numbers stand so tall. The IUCN Red List classifies the reticulate worm snake as least concern and identifies no possible threats in their coming future. Consequently, there are no conservation measures currently being taken or being planned upon, and as it stands, I don't blame them. Welcome to Herp Corner, a series where we delve into the more exceptionally odd species of reptiles and amphibians. I'm your host for today, Baphomet, and today we are discussing the reticulate worm snake. But that's not all they're called. Known in a few different tongues throughout South America, in English you know them as reticulate or reticulated worm snake or blind snake. In Portuguese they're called the Cobra-Cega, Cobra-da-Terra, minhoca, and minhocao, translating to blind snake, earth snake, worm, and big worm respectively. In Spanish they are Cobra-da-Terra. In Ecuadorian Spanish they are Serpiente ciega gigante. And in Colombian Spanish, they are Culebra-Ciega, translating to reticulated termite snake, giant blind snake, and blind snake, respectively. Their scientific name is Typhlops reticulatus, derived from the Latin word Americanus, from America, and the Greek word Typhlops, the blind, but more likely referring to the word for worm snakes, Typhlops. Reticulatus is a Latin term meaning net pattern, likely referring to the subtle imprint of reticulation in their dorsal sleeve of fudge. As expected, the feeding patterns of reticulate worm snakes are on whichever is most convenient. Ants, termite eggs, beetles, grubs, worms, any small invertebrates that fit in their tiny mouths, they slurp down their gullet. And such a small stature means there aren't many. But what feeds on them? What species causes the reticulate worm snake's skin to crawl? Beside the common threat of larger birds or scavenging mammals, their most pressing threat is coral snakes, the red, yellow, and black venomous banes of South America. These snakes can take down a worm snake with ease, but the reticulate worm snake has a line of defense: their sharp tail. We've joked in the past about how some cultures falsely believed that the banded gollywasp possessed a stinger. No reptile has a stinger, we thought, but now that idea doesn't seem so fanciful. The reticulate worm snake, when pressed by a fearsome predator, pushes the pointed tip of their tail into its skin and secretes a fetid substance out of its caudal glands. The substance itself does no harm. It doesn't burn or infect wounds, to my knowledge, but it smells like putrid death. And as far as a coral snake is concerned, that's reason enough to abscond from the scene. But enough about threats. How is their life? Well, in life, they have the common ambition of mating. A lot. Female reticulate worm snakes lay roughly 10 eggs in one clutch, where the neotenous babies hatch after a 52-day incubation period. The intricacies of their mating rituals are unknown, to say the least. This strange snake has interactions with all sorts of fauna near them, and they get around, so imagine how many other interactions we have yet to discover from them. Truly, the reticulate worm snake is a species of many surprises, and with as much excitement for them as there is bubbling within me, I hope there are other herpetologists out there who share in this sentiment. I will be tuning in for any news on this species, and I hope you do the same. I'm sure the reticulate worm snake would be flattered to know a species of ape is greatly invested in their success. Well, on second thought, they're likely indifferent, unless it means a greater supply of food and mates. Who knows, really? But that will be all from me for today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found the reticulate worm snake as exciting as a creature as do I. I additionally hope to see you around in our future endeavors as we upload every other week. If you're a fan of the strange reptiles and amphibians of our world, and there are many, consider a like and subscribe. Potentially, even, let us know of a reptile or amphibian that you personally would like to see us cover. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.